Alright, got an hour. We're good.
Hello everybody, and welcome to a new video, where you'll notice I'm in a bit of a different spot than normal. Normally I record these in my room, or at least what has been provided to me as a room, but today I'm in nature. I'm in actual glorious nature. And it's not a green screen, it's actually all here and such. And the reason why I decided to step out into nature today and give a little bit of a change of scenery is because today we're talking about a slightly different topic than normal. For those of you that have watched my content before this, you'll know that I normally talk about gaming, anime, and those sorts of stuff, as well as just general culture-y-esque stuff, because that's predominantly what I'm into. Drawing, manga, etc. Gaming, obviously. But today I wanted to talk about something that is also very close to my heart, because as I've said many times, this video is predominantly about me and giving me a platform to share about what I think, give my voice out there a bit further, and ultimately just be able to just, in general, put myself out there. This channel is an extension of me, that's why it's named after me, and it doesn't have one of those pseudonyms, even though it used to. But today, to actually get to the point finally, today I want to talk about tarot cards. Tarot, however you pronounce it. Because there's actually, and specifically why I think that everyone should utilize tarot in their day-to-day life. And I will say right away, if this offends you, it's probably reversed on camera, but hopefully you can still read that. I'm sorry, did I offend you? I'm not caring today. Obviously, if this offends you, you're probably just gonna dislike, leave a bad comment or something, and then turn off the video. But no, today I want to give actual reasons as to why I believe everyone should utilize tarot in their day-to-day lives. And that's why I'm actually out in nature today, because tarot isn't really related to the modern day in many senses. Because tarot is all, there's a light breeze. I don't know if you can hear that, there's some wind. I hope that doesn't make this video bad. It's very light, but still. Anyway. And, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it, and it's because a lot of what we know in tarot was established back in the medieval age or even before. And because tarot has been around for a long while, even though today it generally has the stigma of being the specialized hobby of entitled Karens. But no, there's actual use for tarot in everyone's day-to-day life, in my opinion. And so to start with, I want to clarify what tarot is, because I feel that both media and just our general understanding of tarot portrays it as this medium of fortune telling, and oftentimes described as a way to tell a fortune, which is true to an extent, but people generally take it as straight out fortune reading, where if certain cards come up, this means that these exact things are going to happen in your future. That's not how it works. Or at least not how I like to think it works. Because that's the other thing, is tarot, like so many other things in this world, is all about your personal interpretation of it. And at least in my interpretation, it's not so much fortune telling as it is general guidance. In fact, one of the tarot readers that I've been really watching on YouTube to get my own fortunes read based on my star signs is Minopon Tarot. Because unlike others, he's not necessarily overly enthusiastic, but, you know, and he just outright says it. If he thinks that there's something bad in the fortune, he outright say it. And the other reason I like him is because of a certain quote that I'll play for you now. about how he thinks as a tarot reader, how he thinks about tarot. So I'll play that clip now.
If you're dealing with, for some of you, again, it's a general reading. I always say, take tarot with a grain of salt, right? I do this for a living, and I tell people all the time, this to me should be loose advice at best, right?
And so there you have it, from an actual person who has practiced, studied, and read about tarot. It's more about the idea of general guidance and helping, and overall trying to help you find a good footing in life. In fact, he's more than ready to warn people about indulging too much into tarot. Because, obviously, just like anything, it can become obsessive, especially if you're one of those types of people, like me, who tends to try and plan every step of your life out. But no, tarot is not fortune reading. It does not give you exact steps. It gives you general guidance as to what might be able to help you as you go forward. But for as much as tarot reads about the future, we can't just ignore its past. And I feel that the reason why a lot of people hesitate around tarot is because predominantly, at least here in the US, a majority of people who practice religion are Christians, which is nothing bad. I have no qualms if you're a Christian, even though I myself am atheist. My girlfriend's Christian as well, and I've even had friends who are Christian. So there's no qualms here. You are just as welcome as anyone else, no matter what religion you follow. But still, there is the notion that in Christian circles, tarot and other things that are arcane in nature are all considered evil or products of the devil, which isn't necessarily wrong. Arcane is usually related to witches and witchcraft who, in Christian faith, or at least most Christian faiths, typically lie more on the side of getting their powers from demons and the devil himself, rather than anything that's pure. But I would like to preface, and not necessarily preface, but what I would like to say, and what I'm trying to convince you of today, is that while yes, tarot, like many other things, has its roots in arcane and witchcraft, it's not actually as bad as it seems. And something I want to address and specify is that yes, the devil is a card in a majority of tarot decks. And in tarot, the devil represents animalistic or primal instincts such as wanting to gain power to be the top of the food chain, which, like the devils depicted in most Christian faiths, aligns with the fact the devil wants to rule completely in a world with no free will. That's the sin the devil commits. He gives in to his primal instincts of domination, and in tarot, when the devil comes up, it's a message reminding people to control their animal instincts and not let it control them. Just like with biblical stories, the devil is used as a warning mechanism in tarot, not as an inherently good sign, even though it can be perceived as either good or bad, depending on the other cards in the reading, but always relates to primal instincts. Either the need to regain control of those instincts, or lean into them more to help find true fulfillment and happiness. I just wanted to specify that because I know some people will bring up the fact there's an actual the devil card in tarot. Because the core goals of tarot are all about personal fulfillment. And you can see this in the major arcana. In tarot reading, the major arcana is essentially describing a path, and are used to help describe where you are on your own path to find self-fulfillment and enlightenment, depending on how you perceive it. Typically, the lowest ranking in the major arcana is the Fool, and I don't know off the top of my head what the major one is, or the biggest one is, but I'll put it on screen now. And typically, and in fact, if you actually just straight out look at the cards in the tarot, it's all about the Fool growing, learning, and developing himself to eventually step to what they refer to as your true power and becoming fulfilled. because that's the ultimate goal of tarot reading, is to read the future so you can find fulfillment. And everything in tarot is trying to help guide you toward your fulfillment. In fact, I think that there's actually a lot more ties between the practices and thoughts behind tarot reading and Christianity than a lot of people realize. First off, there's what I just mentioned. The path of the fool stepping into his own power and becoming something greater. Becoming more fulfilled. Is that not a very similar journey to the journey of Jesus Christ in the Bible? Starting as a peasant born to the Virgin Mary, and eventually becoming something greater and grander. A symbol and major aspect and focus of a whole religion. God, the Bible. And it's not just these that you can get from tarot. There's other cards that are very much tied, at least through some sort of random coincidence, to figures in the Bible. For example, there's the card the Hermit, which is typically described as a person who has secluded themselves from society so that they can gain information. And who does that sound like from the Bible? Judas. Okay, I messed up here. I spoke from my very limited memory of those stories and accidentally said Judas, as you just heard, who was the infamous traitor against Jesus. But the figure I actually meant was Moses, the guy who received the Ten Commandments. From here on, I'm going to voice over to correct it, but I just wanted to point this out because I am an idiot. But while I got the name wrong, the actual story and ties are mostly correct. I just called Moses Judas. My bad. I just think that's his name. The guy that goes up onto a mountaintop, secluding himself from his people in order to get the Ten Commandments from God. Oh no, shock horror. He's in his room again. But no, the reason why I'm here is because I wanted to add in a little bit of something extra to the video. So, my mom actually has tarot cards. She's the one who actually got me into tarot and readings and all this sort of stuff. And there were a few other cards that I wanted to bring up in terms of their meanings and relations to, and potential coincidences / relations to the Bible. Now, obviously, we've already talked about the Devil card. I pretty much just got done talking about that from editing this in where I think I edited it in. If you haven't heard about that yet, you will hear about it. I'm not sure where I'll decide to add this. But then we also have a few other cards here that are also very much entangled into the things that Christianity tries to teach us through the Bible. First off, we have the Tower, which could very easily relate to the ideas up to God smiting down things that he believes don't follow his faith, which similarly, this is about throwing out the thing, not necessarily throwing out, but moving on, finding a new beginning for yourself. In the same way, how Christianity, when it was coming around, was a new beginning for a lot of people, allowed them to start a new life, a better life. And then on top of that, one of the things God is known for is giving judgment. Yeah, I had to make sure I actually pulled the right card, or grabbed the right card. And as you can see, the judgment card has well, not necessarily biblically accurate angel, but an angel, like in the Bible, giving judgment to people below. And also is another card meant to represent new beginnings under God and his judgment. On top of that, we have Temperance, which I just wanted to point out because it's another angel and is talking more about balance. And then finally, we have Justice, a card that's meant to signify that justice is coming down. The same way how God delivers justice from above. And we also see that it is an actual queen, a ruler, which generally speaks to the idea of state and the whole idea in the past of divine right to rule. I can't remember the actual term for that, but there you go. And so those are just a few more cards I wanted to point out from tarot that seem to have some biblical connections. So, you know, more related than you might have first thought. Sorry, my shoulder was itchy. But on top of that, tarot is all about receiving and paying attention to messages from the universe, which are said to be descendant from the Great Spirit. Similar to how Christians believe that God is giving guidance through the world around them, or through their dreams, which is recounted in various tales in Christianity. And so you see more of this connection. In fact, even the Great Spirit could probably be akin to the Holy Spirit, if not God himself. An interconnected body that's part of everyone. And on top of that, and I just really feel that especially in the modern day, when we are so focused on distractions, looking at social media, going to work, making sure bills are paid, etc., which are all important in their own right, I feel that we get really caught up in the stresses and pains of everyday life that we tend to forget about ourselves. Because a lot of the modern day mindset is built around the idea of community. What does that person think of me? How can I impress this person? When in reality, the way that we are truly happy is, well, of course, by serving the whole, serving our community, but also about finding personal happiness and fulfillment. And that's just something you don't really see outside of tarot, is this idea about personal fulfillment. And yes, it does have ties to Buddhism, which is also about finding your own self-enlightenment. But even still, you can, much like a lot of things, you can completely, in a lot of ways, you can separate tarot from Buddhism and incorporate it into your own religious practices. I mean, it's not like you have to go out of your way to go to a fortune reading parlor anymore and pony up $100 or whatever it was. Now you can do exactly what I've been doing, watching videos online related to your star signs. Or a lot of these YouTubers even have personalized readings that they can give to the specific person. And while yes, there are obvious things in tarot that can lend to it maybe not being as genuine, but I mean, when you're pulling random cards, but I mean, at the same time, a person on YouTube who is just doling out cards onto a table isn't gonna care about persuading you specifically. As long as you're watching, that's all they really care about. And like I said, Minnow Pontarot, and I'm sure there's others, really good people to watch, because they are truly focused on actually giving proper guidance and actually trying to help you find fulfillment, and not necessarily on their own goals or expectations of people. Which, I mean, obviously everyone has an agenda. Everyone has a message they want to send out. But at least in this respect, their agenda is to try and help other people find their own agenda. I guess you could say. And so I definitely think there is a place for spiritualism and spiritual practices to help us find more fulfillment in our own lives, as well as just become better people in general. Because a lot of, as I said in the beginning of this video, Karens, or at the very least Karen-esque behavior, is all about a sense of competition. The fact of, I have to be better than X person. X person has this, so I have to have something better. But in reality, we really do just need to forget all that. Because all that truly matters in life is whether or not we ourselves are happy. Now, that's of course not to say if your friend's having a mental breakdown and you don't feel like dealing with it, to just go ahead, to just go off and play video games or something. You know, I'm not saying that at all. But true enlightenment is about finding your own happiness so that you can help others find their happiness. And it's all about becoming, and it's ultimately about trying to guide the world to a more peaceful place, where instead of having to have violent wars, we can instead just have talk out our differences, and even if we don't agree, learn how to coexist, not just with ourselves, but with nature. And so, yes, it has gotten darker. I had to call my mom, and the sun was in the middle of coming down. So I'm sorry if this part of the video is a little bit darker, the end of it. But ultimately, those are my reasons. The path to tarot, if I had to give a TLDW, too long didn't watch, summary, it would be that the point of tarot is to become self-fulfilled so you can help others. And so I really think that today's world, where there's more stressors than there ever has been before, that we really do need things like tarot or similar to it to help us calm down a little bit and not obsess so much over comparing ourselves to others. And so that's kind of the general takeaway, is go watch tarot. Especially, like I said, Minopon Tarot is the one I watch, but there are plenty of others, so don't feel like you only have to watch him. You can watch anyone else that does tarot, or, you know, you don't even have to watch tarot. This is just the advice of some random 19, almost 20-year-old standing out in the middle of a park. Speaking of, I really should get home soon. I live in a city. It's dangerous here. It's dangerous to go alone. I'm on my walk home, and look, it's deer. Actual, like, nature-loving deer. I want to try and get closer. Can you see him? I know I'm not the most stable with my camera right now because I'm walking, but... they're adorable. I wish I had a better camera to show them. I'm gonna try and get closer. No, they're running away. They're cautious. I'll leave them be. Look at that. Crazy.